All right, today we're going deep, really deep, into the life and influences of Akshat Agrawal.
Akshat Agrawal.
Yeah, so he's got this YouTube video, My Life and Influences, where he kind of lays it all out, his experiences. And
Yeah.
for you, what a journey, right?
Yeah, quite a journey.
Now, one thing, this video, it's in Hindi.
Okay.
So we'll be translating, summarizing for you.
Yeah, makes sense.
And honestly, what makes his deep dive so fascinating,
Right.
it's just the range of things he talks about.
Yeah.
From growing up in a small town in India to, like, global politics,
He really is.
the whole spectrum.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Akshat's childhood.
All right.
He describes this, like, idyllic childhood.
He does. It sounds lovely.
Joint family in India, surrounded by, get this, family businesses.
Oh, wow.
Flour mills, oil mills, cold storage.
What?
The whole, like, entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, in the family.
Yeah, woven right in.
Moving right in.
He even talks about, like, playing in mountains of lentils as a kid.
Rare.
Waiting in line for ice blocks. Like, it's so vivid.
That does sound very like storybook almost.
Totally right.
Yeah.
But there's a turn.
Uh-huh.
His family moves to Kanpur
Okay.
for, better schools
Makes sense.
and things.
Yeah.
They shift a bit.
They do.
Yeah, he sees his father struggling with the business there.
Oh.
So it's this, like, exposure to a different side of life.
Right. Yeah.
It's not all, idyllic anymore.
A little bit harsher.
And around this time, his grandfather passes away,
Oh, wow.
which seems to be a real turning point for Akshat.
It seems to be.
He really dives into all these religious texts.
Really?
Ramcharitmanas,
Yeah.
Gandhi's biography, philosophy.
Like a real spiritual awakening?
Yeah, almost like a seeking.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because his siblings,
Yeah, what about them?
they're more, like, practical,
Okay.
focused on skills, that sort of thing.
Right, so more pragmatic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Akshat even mentions this tutor, Panditji,
Panditji.
who basically says, hey, focus on academics to avoid a tough future in the business.
So like steering him away a bit.
Yeah, almost like a gentle nudge,
Yeah. Okay.
Now, one thing that comes up,
Uh-huh.
Akshat talks about being bullied, taken advantage of,
Really?
and he attributes it to his submissive nature.
Okay.
So I'm curious, how does this, like, duality, the spiritual side, being submissive,
Yeah.
how does that play out later on?
That's a good question. A very good question.
Because it seems like he's a bit of a nonconformist.
Right. Yeah. Within his family.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then also this more submissive side.
And so how does that kind of work out?
Exactly, yeah.
How does that kind of work its way through his life?
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, it wasn't easy for him at first.
Yeah.
Finding a job, I mean.
Right, out of college.
Yeah, he talks about struggling, actually.
Yeah.
He says it was partly the whole, campus unrest thing.
Oh, right. At that time.
But also, he's pretty honest about it, his personality.
Yeah, that submissive tendency.
Yeah.
So did he eventually find something?
He did actually land a job at Indian Oil Corporation.
Oh, wow. Indian Oil.
Yeah, pretty big deal.
So I guess the engineering degree paid off.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But he actually says it was more like luck
Yeah.
than merit.
Interesting.
Again, that whole like downplaying his abilities.
Right, self-effacing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Indian Oil, that takes some places, right?
It does. Different parts of India, even abroad.
Wow, must have been a huge change.
I would think so, yeah, coming from that traditional background.
So how did he handle all these new cultures?
That's where it gets really interesting. He develops this whole framework
A framework.
for understanding cultures, yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
He focuses on three things: Chalkapat, Bidhav, Unch.
Okay, hold on. Those are new ones.
Let me break it down.
Yeah, please.
Chalkapat, that's basically like deception, fraud,
Oh, okay.
how much of that's going on in a society.
Interesting.
Then Bedhav, that's discrimination, prejudice.
Okay.
How people are treated based on, well, who they are.
Got it.
And then Unch, that's all about hierarchy, inequality.
So, like, the social structure.
Yeah, how rigid it is.
It's a pretty unique way of looking at things.
It is, right.
Does he give examples?
Oh, yeah. He talks about his first posting, Baroda, in Gujarat.
Okay.
And he kind of implies that the Chalkapat level there, well, higher than he was used to.
Oh, wow.
Must have been a bit of a shock.
Yeah, for someone with a trusting nature.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so where else did he go?
He gets transferred to Panipat in Haryana,
Okay.
and he paints a more positive picture there.
Really?
Yeah. Says the Bedahav, Unch. less pronounced.
So he's really using this framework to compare.
He is. It's like his cultural compass.
That's a great way to put it.
And then he takes it even further, this analytical approach.
Further.
Yeah, starts applying it to, like, global issues.
Like what?
American influence. That's a big one for him.
Right. The whole China thing.
Yeah, that comes later. But the America critique...
When does that start?
Seems to go back to his understanding of U.S.-India relations.
Like history stuff.
Yeah, stuff from the 1970s, U.S. siding with Pakistan during wars.
Oh, right.
The assassination of Lal Bahadur Shastri, he even brings that up.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, he feels the U.S. might have been involved.
Wow.
Then the pressure on India's nuclear program, all that.
Okay, so he's going way back.
Yeah, and he ties it all to Nixon, his foreign policy, getting closer to China instead of India.
This is pretty deep analysis.
It is not just, like, surface-level stuff.
Okay, and then what?
He links the rise of some, social problems in India to America after globalization.
Social problems like what?
Pornography, drug trade, corruption.
Oh, wow.
He sees it as, like, American culture infiltrating.
So he's blaming America for a lot.
Well, he sees a connection.
Yeah, okay.
And he brings up the Middle East, too, American involvement there.
Oh, interesting.
He even mentions Dhruv Rathi, the commentator.
Okay, yeah, I know him.
Uses his analysis to kind of back up his points.
So a pattern of manipulation, exploitation.
That's what he sees, yeah.
It's definitely a controversial view.
It is, especially now with India and the U.S. so close.
Right.
But it does explain, the China admiration later on.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got his career, his travels, this worldview.
Yeah.
What about Canada?
Canada.
Yeah, he ends up moving there, right?
He does.
What leads to that?
It's a mix of things, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, health issues, family conflicts.
Okay.
And he even mentions, like, religious differences.
So a lot going on.
It seems like it.
So Canada, like a fresh start then.
That's the sense I got.
It's interesting, though. Even with all the travel, the experiences,
Yeah.
he's still, like, guided by that spiritual side. Like, it's always there.
Always there.
And, it seems to color how he sees Canada, too.
How so?
He talks about the education system there, loves it,
Okay.
especially the emphasis on, like, critical thinking.
Right.
He compares it to India, says it was more rote learning there.
So a good fit for his kids.
Yeah, seems like he feels they can, really think for themselves.
Great.
All right, so fast forward, he's been in Canada over a decade.
More than a decade.
Where does he stand now?
Well, we know about the whole China admiration thing.
Right, but what is it about China specifically?
He's really impressed with their environmental policies.
Okay.
He sees them as, like, taking action, being decisive, which, he contrasts with other countries.
Like they're not doing enough.
That's his view.
Yeah, and what else?
Oh, he also loves how China stands up to America.
Stands up to.
Yeah, like resisting that influence we talked about.
So a counterbalance, almost.
Exactly.
It all ties back, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But what about the criticisms of China?
Criticisms.
Human rights, economic practices, all that.
He doesn't really address those.
At all.
Not in this video, no.
Maybe he sees it as, like, Western propaganda,
Could be. Trying to undermine China.
Right. Or maybe he just prioritizes other things.
Possibly, like economic development, the environment.
Yeah. Hard to say without knowing more.
True.
And so where does that leave him?
Well, he makes a pretty bold statement.
Oh.
Yeah. He thinks India should align itself with China.
Really?
Yeah. For a better future.
A better future than, like, with America.
That's what he argues.
Yeah. Wow. That's a big shift.
Huge. He's basically saying, change your foreign policy.
And it's all connected, right?
It is. We started with him as a kid in the family business.
Yeah.
Then the spiritual awakening, the philosophy, the travels.
All those cultures.
And he develops this way of analyzing the world.
Right. His framework.
And it leads him to this worldview, this really unique perspective.
It's really quite a story.
It is.
From, like you said, mountains of lentils to global politics.
I know, right?
It really shows how our experiences shape us.
They do.
And, it makes you think,
yeah,
what about us?
What about us?
What shaped our worldview?
What shaped our worldview, right? How are our cultural encounters different?
Totally different, yeah.
And how do we balance, spirituality with all the competition out there?
The pressures of the world.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about.
It is a lot to think about.
Well, Akshat's story, it reminds us there's always more to learn.
Yeah.
More perspectives to see.
Definitely.
Even in this, like, globalized world, our journeys are unique.
They really are.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and influences of Akshat Agrawal.
Absolutely. It's been fascinating.
It has.
Until next time, keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep learning.